Hey, welcome back to the show, Total Financial Solutions Safer Money Hour. I'm Arif Halaby along with Jeff Gerard. Okay, retiring early, is that even an option for most of you? Well, you know what it is, and it is for a lot of reasons, because you actually have the ability to retire and still be active, and in some cases even still earn money. Remember how I was saying at the earlier part of the show, one of the things that we want to do is to pay off our home. Well, if that's still in your DNA and you still say, well, I just feel like I have to have my home paid off, it's kind of my base. My children, my grandchildren are here, my church, friends, charities, everything's kind of in this town. But I do want to travel. I want to go out and spend 3 months in Europe or 2 months in Central America or whatever it is that you want to do. What can you do with your home? Right? And it now becomes a liability, right? It's always been a liability. Unless someone else is paying your mortgage and your property tax, even your home that you live in is a liability. Don't buy into my friends in the real estate world that say your home is an asset. No. Assets make you money, not eating money. That's a difference. So all that to say is there something out there that exists and allows you to still make money on your home?
Well, a lot of people are now looking into renting out their homes for various reasons. I mean, we've heard the new buzzword, Airbnb. You're going to see a lot of that now where folks are renting out their homes, not just to someone long term. For instance, if you have a rental property, you might have a lease with someone. Someone might live there 6 or 12 or 24 months, and they lock in a rate, a monthly payment, and you receive that income. But you might have a different outlook on that. Your home might be in a wonderful place. Maybe it's a coastal home. Maybe it's somewhere in a beautiful part of town that you might think people may want to go and frequent. So there could be a different business avenue for you in that.
Yeah, and don't forget, Jeff, with that Airbnb option, a lot of times people will use your home as a staging place, meaning they're going to come in and they want to vacation in California for 2 months.
That's right.
And hit the sites up in the Redwoods and down in to San Diego, but they'll use your place as a home base. Mm-hmm. So something like Airbnb and others, and look, there's a whole bunch out there. If something is successful, it is copied. You know that.
That's right.
People are earning extra money. In fact, I was recently out of town and noticed, in fact, that's all I did is I took Uber wherever we went. I don't have a Lyft app yet. Maybe I'll get it, but we took Uber everywhere we went. It was like $6, $4, $9, I think was the most. And I would pay somebody a tip to get my car out of valet. I didn't even do that. I said, just leave my car in valet. Mm-hmm. This way I don't have to worry about parking it. They could drop me off right at the front of where I want to go.
Nice.
And literally the wait was no more than about 3 or 4 minutes.
It's incredible to see the amount of traction that these, lack of a better term, they're kind of like personal taxis. You can have them when and where you want them. You don't have to go to a hub where you would normally find a service, or a yellow cab waiting for you. You can just get it anywhere you want. I used it when I traveled to Atlanta for the first time. We were kind of far from any area where you might see any public transportation. And a buddy of mine pulled up his phone and says, we'll have a ride in a minute. I thought, maybe he's calling a friend. And sure enough, we had a new friend. And someone pulled right up, literally at the corner where we were standing. We got in. And I mean, that was just incredible. So this is kind of a new phenomenon. But so many people now are making extra cash. People I know personally are really reaping the benefits of it. And they're enjoying it because they get to meet new people and they make money. And there's no transfer of cash. I mean, everything goes electronically.
Yeah, pretty insane.
I mean, you might be able to tip them here and there, but what an amazing thing, this new concept.
And so a lot of retirees, folks, you have good driving records. That's what it's about. Could you make a few extra dollars? One particular Uber driver that I met recently said he makes around $4,000 or $5,000 a month. His best month was $6,000 a month, but he said he worked 5 days in a row, 5 days a week, I should say. I'm like, really? Now, I don't know if that includes, remember, he has to pay for gas and back and forth, but he says he lives up in Sacramento, but his parents are down here in Los Angeles, so he's back and forth. So he waits until he gets a fare and there are folks that are afraid to travel or don't like flying in a plane, and instead they will say, hey, I just want to do some work in the back seat, so drive me from Sacramento to Los Angeles. And that's when he comes in, and then he stays here, and then he Ubers around here, and then he waits for somebody to get a ride back up to the Bay Area or San Jose, so that most of that ride is paid for as well. Right? So there's a different world of thinking. I don't want you to be in a box that says, and I'm going to pay off my home, and then surprise, $8,000 a year property tax that never goes away. That is insane, folks. That's real money that you will lose that doesn't come back to you.
That's right. And I kind of wince a bit when I hear people refinancing for a shorter mortgage term. Now, that may line up perfectly with your finances, but when I start to see people adding pressure to themselves where they're going to make extra payments or they box themselves into a payment that's so high so that they can pay their home off by a certain time. That might be a wonderful strategy, but you always have those ongoing expenses, especially if you're going to live in it. I mean, it's not really
Here's
much
what
more than
experts
liability.
are saying, Jeff. Experts today are saying things like, today is the time when you should be borrowing money. Now, I'm not a fan of borrowing money to eat dinner. That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But you're a saver when interest rates are high. You should be a borrower when interest rates are low. Mm-hmm. If you put folks in a room and say, who wants to be a millionaire? Everybody raises their hand.
Right.
You say, who's willing to do what it takes to become a millionaire? Well, what does that mean? Well, it means you're going to have to do usually the opposite of everybody else, because not everybody else is going to be wealthy. So if everybody else is set down this poverty track, then your particular lifestyle needs to be just the opposite. What are they doing? Okay, do the opposite. Turn around and go the other direction. And if everybody is still in this idea of paying down a house, maybe that's not the right answer. I don't know. Everybody's different. But you really have to focus on the fact that if experts are saying today is the time to borrow, and believe it or not, we are now in the conversation. I don't remember ever, certainly as a financial professional and even in my history books, that there was a time when, as of today, there is discussion amongst economic and financial experts in the United States to have negative interest rates. So what does that mean to you? It means that when a bank takes money on deposit, it loses money if it holds it, and instead is now forced to lend it out. It's called deflation, folks. You're going to experience both. I think inflation today is higher than the government is telling us. I think they make up these phony numbers, and instead, just ask an individual, what are you paying to warm your house? What are you paying for your electricity? You realize the pensions for the water and power people are going up every year. The pay is going up every year. Folks, their retirement accounts are increasing every year. Who do you think pays for the Department of Water and Power, Southern California Edison, the Southern California Gas Company? Look, they're wonderful people. I'm not saying that they're not, but I'm telling you that they are a utility, and it is a place to go and become a millionaire. 20, 30, 40 years, you're a millionaire. And that's a utility, which means I don't have a choice. Oh, I don't want to work with Edison. I want to work with X. Sorry, there's one electric company. And when support staff, not people finding new ways to create electricity and, or better ways to get the most out of a gallon of water, right? Not those people. Those people, that's different. Those are engineers. That's the creative. That's the cutting edge. But when support staff are making $60,000, $80,000, $100,000 a year, especially when you add benefits, that's an expense. That's a draw. Now, I'm telling you that because you have to understand that is an expense that is like property tax. You cannot say, and I paid off my water bill. I'm never paying water again. That's it. It's done.
I wish.
It doesn't work that way. Oh, whew, I paid off my electricity. That's over. No. These are things that will continue to go up every single year. The City of Los Angeles Department of Water and Power, after all of these amazing pensions, still came to the folks. And on TV, this guy, the boldness, the lack of shame, and he said, I know that we messed up here, we messed up there, we raised rates here, and you know what we're going to have to do next year? We're going to have to raise rates again. But people cut back 20%. You told us. You told us to cut back water 20%, and we did. Yep, and now we have to raise rates. What do you mean you have to raise rates? So understand that property taxes and utilities are never paid off. So create an income stream that never ends. You need something to match up with that. So that's why when we talk about certain types of pension income or annuity income, where you have a safer resource and a safer source of income, where it is coming every single year without fail, that's a very powerful, contradictory event, I guess, when it comes to eating up the dollars that are going out the back door. Having that counterforce coming in the front door, your check every month, is a very powerful thing.
Well, we're starting to see more and more people working part-time in retirement. A lot of reason is because of the immediate financial gain. I mean, they may not have enough money, like Arif's saying, to have those. They may not have set up all those multiple streams of income to meet their obligations, to not go to work every day. I mean, that's really what it boils down to. Can you sustain without trading your time for work every day? Well, you might have some part-time job that fills that gap between maybe a small pension, maybe a little bit of Social Security. I spoke with a gentleman recently who said that he was going to continue to drive, and he didn't drive for an Uber or Lyft scenario, but he actually drove for a dealership as a shuttle.
Oh, yeah.
Now, this guy he made pretty decent money. I think he was something along the lines of an engineer, if I recall correctly. So he made pretty decent money, but put 4 kids through college, high-end, lots of tuition, and he said he's going to continue to do this, because I asked him, I said, why are you doing this? What makes you want to be a shuttle driver? He says, well, I did XYZ for this many years. I retired, and I still have 2 more kids in college. They're not done yet. So that was basically the way that he could not erode his retirement and have something to expect on the other end that was about what he had hoped when he had retired. In the meantime, do you think he's saving in a current 401k? Yes, he is. Is he delaying taking money out of his current retirement savings? Yes, he is. So there are multiple benefits to working in retirement, and it doesn't have to be full-time, like Arif's saying. It can be anything. You may have been an engineer, now you're a shuttle driver. You may have been an engineer, now you're a florist. Or, you pick it. If it's the opposite, you can do it, and now's the time to do it.
And I think what it does is it gives the second half of your life an opportunity to develop you as a person, to develop your family, your worship. It can really help you focus on the things that are actually most important to begin with. Because a lot of us bought into things 20, 30, 40 years ago that said, go to school and get that degree, whatever it takes. And those are great goals, except the whole idea about bury yourself in a whole bunch of debt. Now, maybe you didn't have to, because when I went to UCLA, I think it was $1,200 a semester or something. That was it. Today, it's thousands of dollars, and with all that to put together, many of you are taking out Parent Plus loans. And you're saying, well, I'm going to take out a Parent Plus loan, which means I am responsible for this loan for my child to go to college because I told him I would help them. Well, you told him you would help them when it was $1,200 a semester or a year, not when it's $1,200 a unit at the private school that they think they need to go to.
Right.
So be very careful on some of the things. Have that conversation as soon as you can with your 15 or your 19-year-old. And you say, look, I'm going to help you with school. But if you're not going to be in a career field that is guaranteed a certain amount of income, then it makes no sense. I'll give you a good example. Last night I was speaking to a group of folks, and we had a client that received a degree from Harvard and a master's from Yale. Amazing schools, both of them, nobody would argue. And became an English teacher for LA Unified School District. Great, noble career choice.
Sure.
But earns the same money as somebody who went to College of the Canyons, then on to Cal State Northridge, and then received a master's degree from UCLA. Now, would you say that the cost for student debt and the expenses on that side are much lower than a Harvard and a Yale education? Yes. But at the end, they're both our English teachers earning the exact same pay. Nothing changes. If they've both been with the district 10 years, it's 10 years. Done. It's not as, oh, you went to that school, so you'll earn more money. Nobody cares. So if the career choice you're working, now if you have cash and you want to spend your money wherever you want, well, that's your money, I don't care. But if you're going to have student loans and require yourself, your future spouse, or your parents to be stuck, then be very careful on the career choice you choose. Because it's very easy, Jeff. We see people eat it up and go, it's only $4,000 a semester. Oh, it's $5,000. Oh, And by the time you get to the senior, look, my daughter was looking at dental school. We went to Loma Linda Dental School. Amazing place. The hospital. It's a beautiful facility, in fact. Yep, beautiful. What do you think it costs for 4 years of dental school?
Per semester, per year, or just at the end?
All together for 4 years, because they give us a flat
$150,000.
$260,000.
Oh my gosh.
$264.
Oh.
And that doesn't include certain things like, oh, I want to take a missions trip, because apparently everybody does that, which is amazing.
Wow.
And they go out and they help, in Mexico or in Vietnam, different countries, and they'll go and do a 2-week trip where they'll help, in this case with dental issues. Amazing. But folks, $250,000. Now, if she wants to do that, fortunately we have the resources to make that happen. But if not, then what? What do? You say sorry? So there are options. Retiring early sometimes means not taking on the debt for your kids. If they want to go to school, you say, I'm going to help pay for your first 2 years, or I'm going to help pay for 2 years. You pick. If it's the first 2 or the last 2, I don't care. You get to select. You want to go to community college and you want to work and pay for it yourself? That's a great idea. Then I'll cover the next 2. But if this, never-ending check, so the kids are 27 years old, still sleeping on your couch, getting 2 more classes to get that 1 degree, I don't think you do them a service. And in fact, I think it hurts your financial world.
You've talked in other shows about generation on generation staying in poverty, not building wealth. I think this is probably a good eye-opener here for a lot of our folks listening. If you start out in debt in your life, and then you pass that mindset along to your children who have spent the first, let's call it 20 years of their life not earning money, right? They're basically our responsibility. And then we send them off into a world where they're going to now be, whether we paid for a year or 2, and then they had to loan the rest of the money to get this really long, drawn-out education to do whatever it is that they're going to do, potentially and statistically speaking, not work in the field in which they studied, and oh, by the way, you paid for, and oh, by the way, they borrowed against. Now, let's say another 10 years have gone by. So the first 30 years of their lives, they have not built wealth, yet they've been dependent on someone else, and then they started out in debt. Is it any wonder why we don't pass wealth on to generation to generation? Is it any wonder? And then, oh, by the way, you couldn't retire when you were supposed to because you had loans too. So education is so important, but it's the right education. It's not just education in general. It's very expensive. It's costly beyond the dollars, I think, the time. Get it though, but make sure you put it to good use, because too many people, I've seen it firsthand, we both have, where they get tired, they get burned out, and they go do something else, and it paid probably half of what they would have had they stuck it out, and maybe they shouldn't have started in the first place.
You've heard me talk about a physician that gave up his practice and moved to Central America to become a land developer and build houses and stuff, and yet he was a physician in his early 40s, which is just about the time when many, if not all, of your student loan debts are paid off, and you're starting to now hit a stride of a reputation and having credibility and learning and knowing what you're doing, even at a greater level.
Yes.
And he just decided. And I said, why did you choose to do that? He said, I paid off all my student loans. I did this because I wanted to please my dad, and he had passed away. And I had 3 offices, and I just decided I'm done. If I don't do it now, I don't enjoy being a doctor. And if I don't do it now, I'm never going to do it. And so that's what he did. So he left the entire career field, and he got into it because he and his family have web feet. You forget that actually exists, but like web toes. And so he was a podiatrist. And you think, wow, so there's a passion, right? There's a personal approach. Many visits to doctors over the years. And, some of the kids chose to have them cut and some didn't. So that was his passion, right? Other times you have people that spend many, many years, certainly the formidable years, getting braces and dental work done. And so that's my daughter. We've been around it. We did missions trips around the dental work, really wanting to see how people's lives were impacted, and she saw them in northern Guatemala. So there could be an incident, there could be a family trait, there could be a moment that drives a passion. Just make sure it's really for the right reason. We come back, we'll get into some more. As we finish up, the last minute things you can be doing to retire early. What are some of the tips and tricks? When we come back, Total Financial Solutions Safer Money Hour. I'm Arif Halaby, and that's Jeff Gerard on AM 1220 KHTS. Hey, welcome back to the show, Total Financial Solutions Safer Money Hour. Arif Halaby, along with Jeff Gerard, on your place for news, talk, and information. We're talking about your family's finances and, of course, retiring early. What is that going to mean when you decide you're going to leave early? What does that mean when you are saying, you know what, I'm done making money in the old career field. I'm done going through and saying, how am I supposed to build my financial life for the next 10, 15, 20 years? Well, there are things that you need to do. Let's go over a couple of steps. We've talked about at least avoiding as much you can those Parent Plus loans. Any kind of student loan where you're going to wait for your child to hit 45, 50 years old before they are going to pay it all back. And many of you say, look, it's my responsibility. So they're going to pay theirs. And, they're married now, so they need to get on their feet. So I can take this $50,000. I can afford the $482 a month. Okay, that's fine. Just understand that will affect, if not eliminate, your chances for retirement. So be very careful before you commit to that. I know that there's a guilt level, and if you don't understand, I get all of that. And at the end, your retirement solutions are exactly the same thing. Whether you're really guilty, feel horrible, really horrible, feel a little bit, and you're still not retiring. So follow me on this. Know your needs to begin with. Know what you really have to come up with and what you don't have to come up with in your day-to-day life. Meaning, there's some things that you're spending money on right now that you kind of really don't need. It's funny, our pastor at church said, just because I carry this little card that said, I think he said the name of the gym, right? It's a gym membership. Mm-hmm. Just because I carry this gym membership card, as you can tell, it doesn't mean I go all the time. So I might be a member just because it's $18 a month or $12 a month, whatever their thing is. But that's the strategy of a lot of these things. I've got all of those cable channels and the movies and all the features. Look, if you own Netflix or Hulu, you don't need it. And did you know with cable TV, you can eliminate just about everything except if you want your phone? Fine. You don't need to have cable TV to have your cable phone. The savings would be $1,200 a year, maybe more. So there are things you can do. You can have a Roku or Apple TV and stream the internet for the same price as your telephone and not have cable TV and put it directly on your television. I know people that work for the cable company that don't have cable TV.
That's right.
Because they said it's such a headache. So keep this in mind. A lot of you say, I'm going to save the money, but when you look deep inside, you're paying all of these other subscriptions. About the amount of time, the amount of TV that you watch, and look, there's a way to save some money. Secondarily, Jeff, we have seen time and again the elimination of a home desktop computer. Today, some of these laptop computers are more powerful. Certainly, they're more powerful than some of the desktop computers were just 5 years ago.
That's right. And if you consider the maintenance that's not present, a lot of these laptops are built, I would say, with a little bit of forward thinking in that they're really not rebuildable like a desktop computer, wouldn't you say? I mean, you have a lot of people will build desktop computers on their own, but they're kind of big, kind of clunky, and unless you're really doing something, I really can't think of anything. I mean, if you put me on the spot right now like we are, I can't think of something that a laptop computer, the right one per se, can't do that a desktop does. You got mobility, you don't have as much maintenance as part of what I'm thinking. But I know that right now it's hard for a lot of us to do away with the things that we've always done. And that's a big challenge. There's someone in my family that's elderly, is technologically savvy, however, will not get rid of that old relic and keeps pouring, hundreds of dollars into whether it's these mobile guys and gals that come out and perform a service, or they fix it, or, oh gosh, the hard drive crashed, or something happened, or I needed to upgrade. Oh, you know what? My kids bought me a printer because they said my old printer was too old. And I know this as I'm raising both my hands. We bought a gift for someone, the gift that kept on giving. That the amount of upgrade on their computer that was needed in order to run the gift that we gave them was twice as much as the gift we gave them.
Could have bought a whole new computer with a free printer these days.
So you have to think about that, but we get so set in our ways that we kind of forget that it's kind of expensive to be stubborn in a way.
Expensive to be stubborn. So many times, folks, we forget the fact that as we're building our financial life and you're going through, that we accumulate these little expenses. So go back and double check those and keep that in check. Here's something else I want you to watch out for. There are times when you can have those multiple sources of income. We spoke about Airbnb, where you rent out your home so that you can travel, whether you're going to live in your RV as a camp host, whether you're going to live and have your residence be an out-of-state place, so you no longer have to pay California income tax, but you do have your home here and you can rent it out when you're not here, so your residence is another state. That's the savings of over 10%. Just by not paying California income tax. I love it. All of my liberal friends that think we should all be paying more in taxes get those rich people. But when it comes time to them paying taxes, they're like, oh, you know what? Find as many strategies and loopholes as possible.
That's right.
What do you mean? I thought you said we should pay more. No, you guys pay more. I don't want to pay. Oh, okay, I get it now.
Yeah, everybody else. It affects everybody else.
The other part of it is between now and that early retirement date, even at age 50, you can retire. Save as much as you can and focus down the road, not just of your regular retirement accounts where there's a matching, and we encourage that. So you're going to see at work there's a 401k or there's a matching plan. Love it. Take advantage of that. But additionally, look at the Roth, R-O-T-H, the Roth IRA. Retiring early can allow you to pull your principal out of the Roth IRA prior to age 59 and a half and not paying a penalty or a fee. So there are ways where you can, go after, if you will, and sources of income and not pay taxes on that money at a later date, or at least on some of it. And a Roth IRA allows you to do that. Additionally, Jeff, one of the things we've been seeing a lot of folks doing lately is the life insurance, the cash value life insurance policies.
That's right. And when those are structured properly, and there's a big asterisk there, because a lot of people will just go out and purchase these cash value life policies willy-nilly, not really having a lifelong plan because they got excited by somebody or they just didn't really understand it, so they put a lot of trust in someone. Now, I don't expect you to know them inside and out, but do know this: when they're funded properly and you give them time, they can provide a wonderful source of income that is not triggering taxes, that can last a lifetime, and it doesn't tax your Social Security. Oh, and by the way, you don't have to wait till age 59 and a half to pull money out of these accounts. So if you have these types of policies, you might have cash value in there that you can access. Oh, by the way, let's say you wanted to not pay premiums anymore and you had sufficient cash value in there, you could, according to your policy, you have to read all that fine print, you might be able to skip some of your premiums, which could be an additional savings. Maybe you've funded it to the place where you don't have to put any more money into it, and now you can go put it into other places like a workplace retirement plan. Maybe you can put it into an IRA or the Roth like Arif's talking about. But it's another source of income that has a tax favorability different than a 401k or a workplace retirement plan. So having your tax strategy lined out for retirement income is just as important as saving your way to get there. And I think a lot of people forget that part.
And that allows you to make choices that are not focused purely on the dollars, meaning you can make choices that are, financially speaking, that are built down the way of saying, what benefits me the most? What allows me to live a life today where my beneficiaries can have some money, but it's not about only working for them? You know, a lot of us will go through life and try to think, well, wait a second. I want to spend every last dime the day before I die. And I've even heard some joke, I don't know if it was a celebrity or somebody, comedian who said, I want the last check I write just before I die to bounce. Okay. Well, maybe. I guess your body is sitting on the corner then, I guess, because it might be to the undertaker. But eventually you need to have at least a possibility to have multiple sources of income, so that when you retire, you can have that life. But believe it or not, and this is so important, you're going to have to plan differently. If your mother passed away early, in a time when we weren't watching cholesterol or our weight or what we ate, maybe today you might live an extra 10 or 20 years longer.
That's right. It's
not the same as it used to be, where we're all eating, bacon and eggs for breakfast and a big pork belly sandwich and then pot roast for dinner, and we're eating those same kind of things that are really clogging our arteries. We're not doing that as much anymore, right? So if you're now into a bit of a healthier life, I think you can throw some of the life expectancy things that you have seen in your family, I think you can throw that out the window, because we're going to be seeing some changes. So,
yeah, well, I think that's wonderful you bring that up, because so many times we've bought insurance, life insurance, based on a particular set of thinking that was passed down. Hey, my father passed away at this time, his father passed away, and my mother, and you start to make these assumptions that I only need insurance till I'm age 70. You might live till you're 85. You might live to 90. Carrying some of that permanent life insurance has multiple living benefits. But now, I love what you're talking about, Arif. You can spend your money from your retirement accounts, maybe some of your savings, and not feel like, oh gosh, I can't leave something behind and still live the same life. So you have one foot on the boat, one on the dock, going, what do I do? Do I eat dinner tonight? Okay, I've got that covered. Do I not take a trip because I haven't left enough for my kids? Life insurance is a wonderful way to do that without having any of that guilt.
Yeah, and it allows you, I like that, Jeff, because part of the challenge is we want to be able to leave some money behind, and whether it's in a legacy format, look, consider the charities out there.
Yes.
Folks, you've heard me talk about my passion for some of the charities and organizations that we love and support, but you all know them. The Boy Scouts. My gosh, is there another organization that focuses on making young men and young women better? I don't know. Maybe not. At least not one that instills values. And what about Providence Holy Cross Hospital? You've heard us talk about Holy Cross Hospital, and Providence now is the parent company, has been there since I was a kid, since I was 7, 8 years old. The amount of lives that it has saved in our family alone, I couldn't tell you. So if your passion is young people, if your passion is healthcare, especially for the poor and vulnerable, right? Your donations to these organizations, they don't help rich people get richer. They help young people. Follow that advice. I think you'll have a great life. Thanks for listening. Arif Halaby, Total Financial Solutions, Safer Money Hour.